So, welcome again to more AdamaCon stuff. Just because we have, it is the 16th of May. A week from now, we will be at AdamaCon. So, awesome. We'll see. It'll be exciting. I've been giving away some of the AdamaCon stuff already. Or never knew what's going to happen. We also know that we inventoried all the Transformers, and that there are a little over 415 of them. Most of them newer ones. The generation ones are completely gone. They were lost in the move, given to Goodwill. A lot of them, and some of them are long gone. Despite some of the relatives, they wanted theirs back apparently. After 30 years, I don't know. But anyway, so I'll just give them copies of the copies of the other ones that were in the box. That's even better. They're box ones. Oh yeah. So AdamaCon here in the evening. There's this won't be as long as that other one, I don't think. I know I went on infinitum about all kinds of other shows. I didn't go on much about. I've gone on about Canary Space and Vanguards quite a bit during the making of those shows. So I thought to mention, well, what's it like after the fact? What's it, that kind of thing. What was it like doing that? Which are questions that would have been not answered until they're done, right? So a little bit of that. The Canary Space story was a different experience than I thought it was going to be. It was fine. And Mark's Cards and I discussed this, of course. The Canary Space had an ensemble, but it was a smaller ensemble. It had maybe 5 or 6 main characters, and it was all about them interacting with their crews. It wasn't about a whole crew. It was them interacting with the crew. A little bit different than, say, a traditional Star Trek story. It was more like how they have a very limited crew at Doctor Who. It was kind of like that. They had a limited crew, captain, and mainly it's about the captain dealing with the alien and the bad guy captain. The whole thing. There was there's a couple of villains in there that were finally realized from the show. They were in there, and they had a toxic relationship. The villain and his underling had a toxic relationship. It would be funny. It's not that they're gay; it's that they're toxic They're toxic friends. But yes, like YouTubers, kind of. That's how they were played in the story. So the original Canary Space books were hour-long episodes, and there were 63 of them. We weren't about to do all 63 of them. That would be 7 books. That would be insane. So book 1. We're going to do book 1, and we ended up doing a little bit of book 2, just to. There was kind of a cliffhanger at the end, so we're like, oh, we got to get them off the planet. Let's do the next episode. So we did the next episode, next hour, put it in there. And the Planet 1 was a little long anyway, so we just kind of scooted into book 2 a little more until it was another 90-minute finale. So that's what happened. But yeah, so Vanguard Space was similar, an ensemble crew, more like a Star Trek, more like a Next Generation homage. When Deep Space Nine was in production, it's the original story script. Canary Space was done at the same time as Canary Space was called back then Distant Cousins, distant journeys and distant planets. It was on at the same time that Starship Locations or Starcrackers at the time was on, so 92 to 94, somewhere around there. And those original stories come from there, and then they were rewritten in the 2010s to go up online. By 2019 or so they're online. But so these online books are used as the basis for these stories, similar to Starship Locations. And it was kind of confusing, but but what's going on is Starship Locations is the sci-fi end of On Location. So basically anything that's fictional, sci-fi, fantasy, whatever, it's just On Location. It's KTS. So we're Slick Otter and KTS. Well, let's just adapt to these other stories. Sure, let's do that. And they're ready scripts, There's a bunch of scripts for other stories that could be used as other ones in other things. But the idea of doing another quadrology for Distant Destinies right now is unlikely, as well as the Vanguards ones is unlikely. We did 3 over there at Vanguards as well, where we had half-hour more footage on the Vanguards one, Space Vanguards one. A half hour into book 2 because of a cliffhanger at the end. Because they were serialized, so they had to watch 1, 2, and 3 together. You don't need to have any other previous knowledge of the trilogy when you watch it. But watch the trilogy together. I find that my stuff tends to have no filler and no fluff. So when you're in there, you're in there. So you got to pay attention. I understand how some relatives with ADD can't handle this because attention deficit, because they're like, oh, I can't figure out what's going on next, and Mark Squares has it a little bit too, but at least he gets it though. The characters, the voices, everything was approved, put out. There was no drama behind the scenes because everyone was approved. Everybody was approved in the story. There was no writing room where they were discussing things. It was a little confusing on the other AdamaCon one where they were all like, oh, it's kind of like this thing that, the Legacy series was kind of like this other background thing. Well, that was, but in this one it was all Kal Kat and Mark Hart, so there was no writer's room. The script was already written, it was done, here it is, boom, go, film. So, but no. So that's kind of it on that one. It was definitely enjoyable. There could be more in the future. Not saying there is, because then all the fans will be like, oh, there's totally going to be more. We're going to talk about it for 1.5 years, and by the time it comes out, they'll be disappointed because it won't have come out. So I'm not going to do that. It's possible there could be other stuff. The Q thing that we did with all of them coming together is sort of just for fun, although it does destroy the Legacy sets, which were falling apart anyway. But we can always rebuild those. We'll see what happens next. I don't know what happens next. And over at the Star Trek, what happens next? Yes, I think I mentioned the Star Trek stuff, and I'm really not involved in any of the current Star Trek stuff. But there is that precedence with that 4th movie they keep kicking around, going like, okay, the origin story or something, or Hemsworth or something, and then the actors bow out, they decide not to be in it, or the director is kicked off and they got to start over. They should just drop the whole Abrams thing with those movies. It's been almost 10 years since the last Abrams movie. Just don't. You're not going to be able to do another one. Just don't do something else. Don't do an origin story. That's already been done. Star Wars did it. The Acolyte wasn't very good. Don't do that. Don't copy them. Don't do that. So yeah, that's enough about Star Trek. This is my stuff. I don't know Terry Metalis and McMahon and the other guys, obviously. Obviously I don't know. But yes, it's just curious that we come up with similar ideas at the same time. And it's weird. But yeah. Then apparently after a year, this other person, unrelated person we were kind of spoofing in our fan films, did get in trouble for something else unrelated to that. But it wasn't us. We didn't do it. It wasn't the fan film. Nobody watched the fan film and said, oh, I figured out who that guy is that was getting in trouble. And then they got him. No, that's not what happened. It's a coincidence. Nothing to do with me. Yeah. And then there hasn't been a, no. Yeah, I'm not going to open the can of worms of the Martial Sportist stuff either. In fact, I just took down or changed some remnant channels on the internet that had a lot of Kitty Key mentioned and a lot of martial sports stuff mentioned. And it isn't what they were anymore, so I changed them so they have On Location Cat written on them somewhere or something else written on there, so they're clearer and you can find them. Some of the deleted movies. Yeah, a little over a year ago, one of the epics that we did was a Blessings Deferred, like Ramanap's novel thing. It's a 3-part, three 90-minute segments, roughly 90 minutes, a reading of the book. But instead of making it an audiobook, well, it is an audiobook, but what I did is I put the Star Trek figures in front of them while reading the audiobook, so they read the audiobook to the audience. I thought it was very different and creative and stuff. Some of the family members did not. However, it ended up on it got taken down and then put on one of these other sites, so it's there. It's an audiobook. It's not meant to be like literally a Star Trek adventure, and it's not meant to be an audio story either. It's meant to be a like just wanted visuals in there just to add stuff. Some other unreleased stories out there. Yeah, there was a film. There was a rant on film productions and stuff. I posted the video of that finally, but it's on the Lost Media site, so it's not found Lost Media because at the end discovered it was wrong. So yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose of the blog in the first place. I wasn't entirely wrong though. Something about film. If the characters in the frame are done a certain way to be artsy, then it shows that it's artsy. But if they linger on the broken shot, and it's clearly a broken shot, they're not being artsy. They screwed up. And there's an awful lot of screw-ups in modern movies. They just make it darker in the frame, make it hide it. So it does happen that it is both. But that has no bearing on this. Yes, a typical... There have been 8 movies this year. A typical Kal Kat movie it takes about 7 or 8 days to make. Go motion, very little limited movement action figures. So, yeah, 8 days to make. Unless it's a blog type one, like that last Legacy story, in which case it took 3 days. However, it ended up taking 8 days because there were 2 days of reshoots. So it actually was closer to 8 days when it was all put together. There were 2 days of reshoots. Yeah. Because it's reshot a third of it. Which Marvel could do if they find a screw-up scene that's blown up to 70mm. They could go, oh crap, those 2 characters were blurry. Can we reshoot that scene? Let's do that again. Yeah. So we gotta do that again. Oh yeah, so here's another question, Q&A thing. Why did you take down most of Talking Pointless? Mainly the political stuff that was on it. Basically because the new administration decided to crack down on YouTube and break people's freedom of speech. And I figured I didn't want to lose my channel, so I took it all down. That's why. I was like, yeah, that's all they're. Yeah, I don't have lawyers. I can't sue them. So let's just not have it there, and then they can't find it. Yeah. I have a list of my channels and how many views they have here. The subs aren't good. Yeah. On On Location Reviews, which had that Talking Pointless thing, they have 73,301 views so far. 73,000 views. I used to have thousands of subscribers, but I have only 203 now. During this heyday, there were a lot more of them. Just kind of went poof. Most of them went poof. The On Location Cat channel has, has 15,428 views. I think that YouTube should change the rule that says you have to have thousands of subscribers before you get the button. I think they should make it views. If they made it views, I would have passed at least the copper button by now, and would have one of those YouTube buttons. They'd be all, oh, you have one of those. Yeah. 1,000, you have 10,000, you have 70,000. You should have the silver one. There, 70,000 views. Cool. Yeah. Not gold yet. That'd be make $1 million or something. I don't have $1 million. So I just decided to do another little brief AdamaCon thing, just for the heck of it. So what is the next thing? What's the next thing? Yeah, what are we doing next? Well, it's been a year since it's been a Transformer thing. So we're doing a Transformer thing. The current thing in production right now is a script. It's a script. There is a script right now, and I can actually say there's a script. It's not kidding or joshing like the guy like Scott Grimes was last April, over a year ago. April. It's not that. There is a script, and it's for Karda. Karda the movie. Doing a reboot of Karda the movie. With Mark Card's approved character development story. Instead of it just being a slaughter, the characters come together and the characters come together in creative ways and new ways. Some of them are renamed from other people. Some of them are dilapidated Terrans, and it sort of ties into Earthspark a little bit in that they're Terrans. But as the characters point out in the story, sort of the Dinobot. Yes, the some of the stuff that they did in Earthspark actually is canon, even though it's multiverse, with the OG stuff. They just renamed things in it. The Quintus rock that they find, Quintus Prime rock that they called them in there, is of the same material as Vector Sigma. Make a computer that Primus put on Cybertron to grant them life. It is essentially an Allspark. So if it's like an Allspark, then it makes Terrans. Apparently there must have been something like that on the Ark ship. The Autobots came to Earth, and on the Nemesis, so that Megatron could use it. So there were two different versions. So that when the Autobots and Decepticons arrived, they were able to rebuild themselves and make more of them before Cybertron came back. That would explain the Constructicons being rebuilt, again, to be in the caves, and being there earlier. That would explain how the Autobots were able to build the Dinobots and don't mention Sparks at all, because they had this Allspark thing. They had this early shard thing on the ship, and it allowed them to build other Transformers, probably out of protoforms they had on the ship. I know protoforms came later, and Allspark came later. But it's kind of all similar things we're talking about. Right. In the Karda. And there were two Karda battles. There was one in 86 or 86, 87. And there was another one in 1994, but they said it was 2015. And they thought that it was billions of years later, when in fact it was 2015. And some of these characters have come back to Earth with the help of Primary and Raksha from the Gone story. And they come back to Earth, and they're helped out, and they're instead of the deities being these two different guys from although those guys are represented as other characters, that's what it is. And they're protoforms because they haven't come back fully yet. And they download the minds of these bad guys, these scavenger guys, and these other guys that show up, the crooks that try to get into the base, where they die, and they end up getting their brains copied into the robot. You can see that the robots, some of the robots. It's basically the lesser ones that weren't in command, which is cooler than just having battleship and air flight show up and they fight again. No, I didn't want to do that. this time. I wanted to say, like, let's have the lesser ones. So the ones that didn't have any story. Because those are the ones that weren't repeated in 3 different Karda movies. 4, if you technically choose the other one. Although in all Transformers Mush, I gave them different names. So that one didn't count. So yeah, 3 of them. It did count as a story, it's canon. But it didn't count as Karda, really. It was like they changed them. The Frankenstein Veritech is referred to, though. But that goes back to the OG one. Simultech is referred to as well. And you'd say, like, okay, well, the first movie, where does it take place? It takes place at Simultech, which used to be Legato, which is on the Earth. And Legato got bought out, became Simultech. So it's the same place. So, yeah. One spot for all of them to hang out on. It's one probably 90-minute movie, and it's like you don't need to have them go into space or anything yet, or do anything other. Keep them where they are, which is because it's not a quest yet. It's just we're introducing ourselves. We're doing stuff. Yes, sarcastically arguing with each other, which is fun as well. So yeah, the Karda thing comes together, and that's only like the first little bit of it. It's stuff full of stuff. I did take out some of the references. It's an early draft. I've only gotten 30 pages into it, double space. I wanted to make sure that it works, and that it's not too referencey, and that you can follow it, even if you don't have any idea what the cards are. They reintroduced to them, so it's fine. They keep breaking the fourth wall and going like, wait a minute, stop breaking the fourth wall, stop now. Well, there's some funny lines. It should be a very funny movie. It should be a very, very funny movie. In script form, usually when we're not copying someone else's script for an adaptation, this isn't an adaptation at all. It's an adaptation of my own stuff. You usually that takes longer than the normal 7 or 8 day film shoot, because the script needs to be written and then sets built and all that stuff. I said in the earliest preliminary things, this is not really behind the scenes of Karda at all. This is an AdamaCon. The early preliminary thing is that some of the figures are on the way, and they are. Some of them were canceled, but we canceled them because we wanted to wait on these other ones first. So, and hanging out with the cast and crew of the other shows, the AdamaCon, and actually having it be a vacation. And say, we'll film some of it, but not all of it. We will, of course, do the stroll, of course. But yes, it's all the costumes you come to see. I don't have any new costumes planned. I didn't get any. I don't think that in the next week I could get any new ones. So it's going to be similar. Just because I didn't have any of that ready. So yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. No Galaxy. Can't do both. It just would be unfeasible. It's kind of vaguely feasible if Red Card says, I really want to go and see these guys. The Karda will be constructed out of, now they make them. They make little wooden robots. So they make them. I didn't want to have it just be Transformers, because as I said in the other comment on the other thing, it diminishes it a little bit. A lot, actually. If they're actually realistic, articulated Transformers. It's better if they're not. Because the whole gimmick is like, look at these guys. Same thing, that's why I brought up that other thing about that other. The South Park idea. The idea that South Park wouldn't be funny if they really were live action, like realistic looking children. It'd be weird and creepy and strange. It wouldn't make sense. But if they're like cartoon characters, that's fine. So yeah, the Karda are like that. So it's like that. If they look kind of cheap, that's the whole appeal. They can't be perfect, because otherwise that would be, even if they can't be Transformer bootlegs either, really, because that doesn't really work. They have to do their own thing. Also, the Dinobots are out there. Yeah, I was saying earlier that the Dinobots are Terrans because they were built on Earth, and they never mentioned any personality components or Allsparks. So I'm thinking, like, these are just different names for different things. when the Combaticons were built, the personality components were just sparks. Yeah. And it doesn't explain how they made Autobot Spike. The only way that works is that they copied his brain for a while, fixed his body, and then copied it back. But his brain was never copied back. It's just that he woke up. Because, yeah, that doesn't make sense unless they had... I don't know how they did that. It's just retcon stuff. Goofy. But yes, the Dinobots would have been personality components as well. And the Constructicons would have been, and all of the other extra Transformers that showed up. They would have also been. So they would have been Terrans, technically, if they were built on Earth by the Transformers. No. Transformers. And that Karda script, half of that could totally change. Yeah, it's not like, oh, this is going to be what's going to happen. I know it's what some of them happen. But I've already introduced about 18 characters, over a dozen. And I think that's enough. That's a lot. And give them all personalities to do something in the story. Sort of rummaging through the remains of Simultech, which has been blasted several times by the Transformers. The remains of it in the pyre where the Karda were killed and everything. And of course, Bussy Man can't be called Bussy Man, but there was another one called Bussy Bot, so he shows up. But for obvious reasons, we can't call him Bussy. But yeah, when we thought of the name, we weren't thinking of that other word at all. Yeah, we were thinking he's literally a bus and a robot, not the other kind of... Yeah, you can look it up. It's Rule 34, let's say. Yeah, it's not we were not thinking of the Uranus, or his Uranus, at all. That's not what we were talking about. We're talking about a transit bus. Really, really literal character names. Slam Trip, and gets tripped and then calls himself Slam Trip. School Bus Bot was literally a school bus bot. I guess he's the magic school bus, I don't know. Jail Bus Bot was a prisoner transport. X-Law Bus was another one. Just another prisoner transport. Just a smaller one. They do joke that he was a short bus at one point. They joke that school bus that man is acting like a short bus, and then he says, "You're confusing me with Gunship," because Gunship was kind of a dummy. He said, "Oh, I think I'm confusing me with a Bussy Man. He was kind of a dummy too." No. Gotcha. Does Gunship show up in this story? Not as of yet. No, I don't think so. I think the main ones like Gunship and Aerial Flight and the other guy will not show up in this story. This is the other ones. Those other ones should probably remain dead until they figure out how to rebuild them. Yeah, because that's too many guys. Or sort of, like, they're not really technically, well, Transformers, they just change their voice box to female, or they change their protoform, they're a female. Yeah, there's no gender dysphoria at all. They're just what they are. And there's no, politics there either. They're just what they are. So, yeah, primary can be a male or a female. It doesn't matter. She doesn't have reproductive organs, so don't worry about it. So they're all probably actually like quite flat. Barbie doll crunch. Clang. Because it's not about that. It's not about them reproducing. Well, it's kind of about them reproducing in the sense that they recreate themselves. That's reproducing to an extent. So she becomes known as the mother, and the other one does too. The mother of what's going on. But it's only because they're building other robots. It's more like the creator than the mother. It's like, build you. Do that again. Yeah. An actual budget version of, which actually has like looks like they're robots and stuff. That's actually really cool. I like that idea. Back. I'll just relive all the stuff that I did as a kid when I was like 16 or 17. And then 22 or 23. That last one. 25 years later. We'll do another one when I'm 75. How about that? But yeah, anyway, so that's